All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a Beyond Identity webinar. Today, we are talking specifically about our integration set, but I'm pretty sure our webinar has a much jazzier name than that. So welcome either way. My name is Jing. I lead marketing here, and I have Michael with me today. You want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, I'm Mike Schweitzer. I am on the product team here at Beyond Identity. I focus on our integration strategy.
That's so funny. I always pronounce your name in my head as Switzer. So I've been doing it wrong the whole time. Also, a quick question. What are you 3D printing?
Right now, I am making a case for a video game controller. Uh,
Ooh, all right.
yep,
That's fun. Send me a picture afterwards.
sure.
Anyways, for the rest of you here, we are going to dive into our content. And what we'll do is in the beginning, we'll talk a little bit about how Beyond Identity approaches this problem of security tools being completely siloed from identity and access management and kind of the impact of that. And then we'll hand it over to Michael, who will actually run us through a quick demo because seeing is believing, right? So without further ado, I am going to jump in. So here at Beyond Identity, we say we have a security first approach to identity and access management, right? And what we really mean by that is you think about all the tools you have in identity, and somehow breaches still happen. So why is that? Well, if you look at any threat report, whether that's Mandiant, Verizon DBIR, CrowdStrike, pick your favorite one, right? And initial access always breaks down into two specific buckets. One of them is a weak credential. That's a password, push notification, whatever it is. All of these are vulnerable to social engineering, phishing, adversary in the middle. I don't have to kind of go into detail here. I'm assuming this is top of mind for you. If it's not, you can always reach out and we can really dig into kind of the threat vectors around credentials. Or you can just go on MITRE or CISO's website. But the second bucket of initial access vectors is primarily where we're going to focus on today, and that focuses on the device itself. And this can range anywhere from malware, 0 days, to just plain misconfigurations that are exploited. And what's interesting here is typically the response from the market to device threats is, well, I'll have an MDM, I'll have an EDR, I'll have a ZTNA, whatever tool in place that will help close the gap, right? However, that still does leave things like unmanaged devices, BIOD, partner devices that nevertheless access your critical resources. So what can we do about this, right? Well, on one part, Beyond Identity delivers invisible device-bound MFA. You authenticate with something you are, a local device biometric, and something you have. And these possession factor and the inherence factor are not stealable. And they're phishing resistant and they defend against all of the credential vectors, right? But then when it comes to device attack vectors, I saw this very fascinating stat from Gartner, um, which says that 61% of security leaders have suffered a security breach because of misconfigured controls. So when I think about a device vector, and specifically as it relates to our security integrations, I think about two sides of the equation. One is if a tool is misconfigured, how do you catch that before a breach happens, right? And then the other side is, well, you have all of these risk signals. Why not put them to use, right? Why not control access based on the risk telemetry that you have? And here's where I'm going to actually pause for a second. I know Michael thinks about this day in and day out. Is there any additional context that you want to share with the audience here, specifically around the problem and or the importance of integrating your security risk telemetry into identity and access management?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really interesting problem space in general to work in, and I do think it is. The first piece is just like you said, it's catching these misconfigured environments. Without with lots of different administrators working within the same systems, you end up, by accident, on purpose, you end up with misconfigured resources and bits and pieces that are really, really hard to catch. By incorporating that into the authorization flow, you immediately can tell that any of these sort of configurations have happened because your user's login experience has changed. That's one piece. I think the other big piece is that all of these tools are essentially designed to detect issues and then remediate them. And that detection and remediation flow, it takes some time, just by definition of how that system works, right? You have some MDM that says, okay, I found some tool that's misconfigured. I'm going to configure it correctly. You have an EDR that says, hey, something risky has happened about this device. I'm going to trigger a quarantine action or something like that. All of these operations, just by the definition of how they're created, they are a call and response sort of an action. And our role in our customers' environments is to try to close that gap, down to zero. Because when your user logs in, or continuously during their taking actions within their business applications, we're continually evaluating the security posture and the device posture of that device, and locking out users that engage in suspicious behavior. It may be intentional, it may be unintentional, but really closing that gap and making sure that our users are secure the moment that they log in is really the role that we play in that ecosystem.
Yeah, that's a much more elegant way of putting that, right? And I had skipped ahead to this slide because I think as you were talking, this is an interesting visual, right? So Beyond Identity sits in between kind of your identity provider, SSO, and the applications. If you listen to different identity providers talk about their product, you'll actually hear them say, we built this to solve a productivity issue. I want to get users from point A to point hundreds of applications in the least amount of time. But when Beyond Identity, when we look at kind of this access gap or access security gap, what we want to do is lock that down, right? What can we give our customers that's actually going to give you the peace of mind at night that no matter what users do, no matter what links they click, you will not be phished. And then when it comes to policy enforcement, how can you work with the maximum number of risk signals from your available tools? So this is kind of how our platform lays out. And unfortunately, on this tool that I have for webcasting, I can't click through, so you're not going to be able to see the animations that I had, which is very devastating for me as a marketer, but irrelevant ultimately. I think this is where let's dive into a demo so we can see what these risk signals are and make this uh, very abundantly clear to our viewers on how Beyond Identity achieves this identity first security with our integrations. I'm going to pull the slides off the stage, and if you want to start a screen share, we can just jump in.
Yeah, so I'll start from the administrator's perspective, right? This is where you'll start to configure the access control policies. This is where you'll configure the integrations themselves, and then I think we'll hopefully pass to Jing for the end user experience demo, if that's okay with you. I can do both parts, but in any case, so this is the landing page for our console. If you want to look at our current library of integrations, you simply go over to the integrations panel here and then click Browse. We've got kind of an app store style layout here of various integrations. We cover a variety of different types. We do inbound and outbound integrations, as well as taking in. We can take risk signals from a variety of different tools. If there's something on here that you don't see but you use within your environment, let us know, and we can talk about getting that integrated. But it's different EDR tools like CrowdStrike and Cyber. We support a variety of SIM tools to send data outbound to external alerting, such as Datadog and Elasticsearch. We support a variety of MDMs like Jamf, Kanji, Intune. That'll allow you to take in signals from the devices. And then if I mentioned EDRs. We also do ZTNA. So for zero trust networking tools, we can also take in risk signals from your network stack and use that to make access decisions. We also do support some outbound actions. So for example, in Zscaler or CrowdStrike, we can take a quarantine action if something is identified within our system that we deem to be particularly risky. What this looks like in practice. So on this page, you'll configure the integration itself, you'll put in the API token or whatever integration point that you have with this application, and then it becomes a set of attributes that you can use in your policies. So I've got a few policies pre-built over here, and we can take a look at what that might look like. Let's take a look at a deny rule first. Let me head to the edit. And this rule is pretty simple. It just says deny if CrowdStrike is out of compliance. You can define what compliance means to you. We support a really, really wide attribute, a wide list of CrowdStrike attributes for use in the policy here. But if I go to edit, you can type in a description and add any kind of additional details that you want. But this is for authentications, and it essentially says that if your CrowdStrike ZTA score is less than 80, if these other attributes are not enabled, we're going to deny access. And then we have a custom message that you can provide to your users here to allow them to self-remediate or contact their help desk for additional checks. I am remiss to not show off the actual depth of the integrations that we have with these different tools. So on these different, within our sort of App Store style view, you can read a pretty detailed description of what each tool does and is capable of. But then down here, you can see a large table. With CrowdStrike, we have 88 different attributes that you can pick from, and you can mix and match these to combine for different use cases. So CrowdStrike in particular is about device compliance and risk assessment. And so you can set up separate rules that apply to risk, as well as making sure that each device is running the tools and configurations that you require for your environment. And with that, I think if you'd like to see it in action, I think I'd like to pass it back to Jing here, unless
Yeah,
you could do it.
yeah, it's all good. The integrations marketplace is one of my favorite things about our product because it's and I think back to last week we were at Gartner and one of our customers on a panel on stage said, when I think about the perimeter, it has dissolved and it has dissolved, and now the perimeter is around the identity. So I use beyond identity as the enforcement point. And what good is an enforcement point if you can't have these bi-directional integrations with other security tools, right? Because as great as I think we are, we're not going to solve all of your security needs, right? Like you have MDMs, EDRs, CTNA, all of these cool tools for a good reason. So let me actually show you what the user experience looks like. Oh, and I see I can't show both screens at the same time like I had hoped. So we're just going to do one at a time. First, I'll show you a successful authentication, and then I will show you a authentication denial. So let me share screen, and you should be able to see the screen here. I don't think I don't think you'll be able to see the biometric, but that's okay. I'll just kind of walk you through what I'm seeing on my screen here. So I'm going to log into my account, and here what's happening is I'm providing a local biometric, and that provides the biometric factor, right? The something you are. And then what it's doing is it's actually going to check for the public-private key on my endpoint. Do I have that credential or not? And then because my device actually meets all of the corporate policies here, I'm able to log into my dashboard. I'm able to log into my admin console. Now, let's take a look at what a policy denial would look like with an integration rule in there. So here I have an environment that's pre-configured, and I'm going to enter my email address. We're just going to say, hey, it's policy. We're running through the same authentication flow as before, where the user provides a biometric, and then there's a public-private key configuration. Now, what you're seeing here is a denial message that says, hey, your device does not meet the corporate standards. If you want to customize this message, you can, but this is where the user can actually reach out for additional help, right? For whatever reason, the CrowdStrike policy figured out that this endpoint is not in compliance with the policies that you had set. So now what I want to show you. And this is a demo from before our UI refresh, so I apologize if it's a little bit hard on the eyes. But what you're also able to see from an admin side is not just, hey, there's a denial. We actually show you the reason that CrowdStrike denied it. In this case, CrowdStrike quarantined the endpoint because the device didn't meet the standards. And then if you drill down even more, you can actually see additional device details. So you're never in the dark about, hey, this user couldn't access the application or the target application they're trying to access, what happened, right? So on the end user side, they got an error message, and then on the admin side, you're able to kind of drill down as needed. Is there anything you'd want to call out here from the console side or the UX side, Michael?
Yeah, on that customizability angle there, I think that there, within these tools, there's, like I mentioned, a number of possibilities for the customer or for the end user to self-remediate. But that's not going to be an end-to-end story, or at the very least, like there may be some attributes that you don't want to make 100% clear to the end user about what you're checking. And so having that granularity of detail on the admin console and then the customizability of the messaging that you send to the end user allows you to minimize help desk requests, let them self-remediate what they're capable of self-remediating, but not share the entire security posture, end to end with your entire organization, or show them attributes that don't necessarily that they may not have direct control over. So for example, if you're controlling by a risk score, which is an aggregated a number based on a lot of different attributes, you may have to dive deep into CrowdStrike to understand exactly how that risk score was calculated. But we provide you all the tools that you need to do that. And that kind of gives you the flexibility that you would need to incorporate that into your access decisions. I think the other thing that I would add is, Jing mentioned earlier that something that we say a lot, which is that other tools are kind of designed with business productivity in mind, and we kind of focus on the security side of things. I do want to point out just how seamless the end user's login experience was in the Happy Path. And also kind of their ability again to self-remediate if issues do come up from a security perspective. I think that our end user experience is also something that we kind of focus quite a bit on, and having that kind of seamless passwordless login experience, the end-to-end kind of ease of use, and all of those device posture checks happening silently under the hood are definitely something that our users are pretty happy about when they're actually performing their business actions.
Yeah. Yeah, those are definitely good call outs. And on that note, I will just emphasize how unique this is in the market. It's not just the identity providers that don't have this capability, right? It's also other vendors around access management. We're starting to see some of them start to talk about integrations, but if you really dig into what they actually mean by integrations, you'll see that the breadth, depth, and the enforcement capabilities actually severely lag behind our our platform, and the fact that we integrated in a seamless way for the admins is quite differentiated. But I mean, I encourage you to get a custom demo so that we can really tailor the integrations use case to what you have in your suite, right? Maybe you don't have CrowdStrike, maybe you're using Defender, maybe you're using Jamf, whatever it is, we most likely can support it. Otherwise, we could probably build it, not to speak on Michael's behalf. So thank you for joining our webinar today. You can find us at www.beyondidentity.com. If you want to see that custom demo, there's a big button upper right hand side that you can't miss it. If you miss it, marketing is not doing our job, right? So next week, I think we are going to do a demo on our desktop login. So don't miss that. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, thanks. Bye.
Thank you.